I'm standing at the wreck of my car. There's smoke everywhere. There's a cut on my nose. There's blood all over my face, and there's actually blood on my shirt as I look down. I take a second to pause and realize I'm actually lucky to be alive. Next, I sort of survey the scene just to see what's happened. My car's fucked. There's smoke everywhere. I'm covered in blood. I look over my shoulder, and the next thing I see are two police officers walking towards me. All I can feel now is impending doom and just panic. The next thing I do is I shout loudly to myself, I am fucked. And this is something the police take down in their statement, and something that actually gets read back to me in court. Just imagine a courtroom, deafening silence, and those words uttered back to you. It's a new low for me, and I just cringe when I think back to that moment. The next thing I realise is I've been escorted in a police car to a police investigation centre, and my feet are cold. I haven't actually got any shoes on because I was wearing flip-flops and I left them in the bloody car. Of course. And then they put me in the jail cell, and all I really want is some water because I'm so dehydrated after just being out on the piss. And you can only get water every half an hour by pressing a button, and it's just such a tedious moment. So I try and get some rest. I lay down on this thin, flat, blue mat, like the ones you get at school, like the crash mats, and just think to myself, this is where actual criminals go. So what the fuck have I done? I've really done it this time. I've really properly messed up. How am I going to go home with no car and explain this to my parents? They're going to notice the lack of my vehicle. It's going to be a tough one. And you think for me this would be rock bottom, you think this would be a wake-up call. But let me tell you something, I am very stubborn. I will cling on to this self-destruction until it almost kills me. I will see it through. And when I look back at my 20s, I cringe. I'm sort of embarrassed. I look back at all of that wasted potential. I'm too busy sort of chasing those drunken highs and that escapism, trying to mask some kind of pain. Can't quite describe what it is, but it's just something in me that needs to be fulfilled and escaped. Instead of addressing the actual issues, I'm just numbing myself to it. And do you ever get those mornings when you wake up and you know today is just going to be about survival, it's just going to be getting through that day? You look forward to the end of the day to where you can maybe have a beer, maybe two, maybe three, maybe four. Instead of waking up and looking forward to those 24 hours, looking forward to actually getting something done and being productive, actually trying to thrive. But it doesn't always have to be this way. There is still hope, and I'm testament to that fact. I have come out the other side. There is always a redemption arc. And for me, what I like to use is that darkness, that hitting rock bottom several times, and using that as a bit of like a Batman sort of power, that driving force, that momentum behind me to make me want to change. I feel a lot of people do want to change, and sometimes I think people are too comfortable in the situation, like it doesn't hurt enough. There's not enough pain for them to actually want to do something, so they just stay stagnating in their situation. Whereas for me, if I didn't change, I would die. So let's look back at 4 pivotal points in my 20s. The first one begins with accountability. I constantly felt like a victim. I would always think there's going to be something, someone, some kind of divine power that's going to save me. There's going to be some light bulb moment that's going to pop off. There's going to be some YouTube video that tells me how to get rich, or some guru that's going to get me a six-pack and completely sort my life out. I couldn't take responsibility for my actions, and the day I got arrested for drink driving is also the time I blamed everyone else for all of my sort of misfortunes. I blamed the people I was out with. I blamed other people for dragging me out. I blamed the people for giving me too many drinks. But deep down, it was me. I could have said no at any one of these points. During that period, we were drinking turbo Jaeger bombs. And if you're not familiar with what those are, it's essentially a double vodka Red Bull, and then you put a shot of Jaeger in it, making it a sort of Jaeger bomb. And that is just a disgusting amount of alcohol. It's ludicrous. No one should want that. But there we are. I had no idea how many of those I had. And like I said, I just blamed everyone else for everything. It's all me at that point. I am accountable for all of my actions. I was just simply escaping. I just wasn't happy with where I was, and I was just using it as a vehicle to get out of it. I think deep down, I knew it was my fault. I just didn't want to admit it. I never had like a ceiling with drinking. I could always just keep going and keep going. One, like if I got started with one, that was never enough. I was constantly always chasing that kind of tipsy buzz, that kind of initial feeling you get, that warm, fuzzy feeling that makes you feel really good. I'd always be after that, but I'd never really attain it. I knew I had no self-control, and that's what led me to being arrested. It was no one else's fault but mine. I'd constantly blame others, blame people, like blame circumstances, blame my luck, look around at other people and just wonder how they could be so successful and how it could be so easily, whilst I was just surviving and just being functional. The thing is, no one's going to save you. No one owes you anything, not your family, not your friends, not the government. The only person you can rely on is yourself. I had to make a conscious decision to take charge of my destiny and just to try and forge my own path. If I look back at my actions for the previous year, I should be exactly where I was. I spent all of that time drinking, going out, not being productive, not working out, not eating healthy. Of course, I was going to end up doing something stupid. It was only a matter of time. I am the sole reason that happened. The thing is, no one's going to save you. Your friends, your family, the government. There's not going to be some kind of divine intervention. There's not going to be something that pulls you out of this wreckage and sorts your life out. You might get people suggest stuff and you might get people that support you, but ultimately you need to forge your own destiny and take charge of that. You need to take accountability for your own actions. And if I look back on that previous year, I was making lots of mistakes. I was eating crap, I was drinking loads, I was going out every day, I was sitting at home drinking. I wasn't doing any exercise, I wasn't doing anything to look after myself. Of course I was going to end up in a bad situation. I didn't think I'd end up in jail, but that's the way these things go. It was a wake-up call, but not quite the right one at that point. And it wasn't bad luck, it was my fault. I can't blame anyone else apart from me. And if you need help with accountability, I offer a 60-day mentorship where we talk about dropping the weight, dropping the drink, and regaining your self-respect. And if you're not satisfied with the results, I will give you your money back. So if that's something that's of interest, just click the link in the description box. And point number 2, consistency. And this ties in perfectly with accountability. I just lack that consistency to actually see anything through and to get it done. I'd spend my nights drinking too much and just being in a bit of a hungover haze, some days more than others. But I was always a creative soul. I always knew I could do something with my brain and with my wits and actually make some kind of money online or some kind of business. And I'd be starting lots of different side hustles, whether it's reselling backlinks or SEO or blogs or doing stuff on eBay. I was always doing something, but I just never saw any of them through. It either got too hard or I didn't see any results instantly, and I just didn't get that instant gratification, that instant dopamine, just to keep up with it, which is so annoying. Even if it was making me money, even if I had projects I had to give to clients, I'd just sack it off. Instead, I'd choose to drink in the evenings and tell myself little victim mentality stories like, oh, that person that started affiliate marketing, they must have got in early, so it must have been easier for them. Or when that person started a blog, it must have been, I don't know, the perfect time or something like that. It just, those little bits just sucked my motivation out, and I just, I don't know, just could never get anything going. I could just never see it through. And the same goes for fitness. When I was in my late teens, I was really into martial arts. I was into acrobatics. I was into bodybuilding. Bruce Lee, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all those kind of people were my heroes. And that's kind of what I embodied. I'd be in my garden, I'd be training, doing backflips on my trampoline and just trying to learn all that stuff. And it's what I really, really enjoyed. And as I got into my 20s and started chefing, these things just slowly fell by the wayside. I just stopped all of my little productive gym habits. If I'd been consistent with any of them, I could have hit some wicked PBs. I could have had the body of my dreams like much earlier. And I just could have been a productive member of society. I sort of create this narrative in my head and blame my chefing job. Like, oh, us chefs, we work hard. We need to party hard and we need to unwind. But I knew deep down it was all just bullshit. I was just justifying my own actions. And I was expecting sporadic gym sessions and sporadic bouts of side hustle productiveness to sort me out. It just doesn't work like that. You need that consistency to actually get anything done. Which leads me on to escapism, point number 3. I just wasn't happy where I was due to having that victim mindset, that lack of consistency, just being stuck in a rut, with a general pity party attitude. I chose the easy options, the beers, the Netflix, the shit food, and just going out occasionally and drinking way too much. Quick, unfulfilling, temporary dopamine that doesn't fix the underlying problem that's deep within. It was all fake. Each drunken night by myself, looking forward to a beer because I felt like I deserved it. I think, as I mentioned, we create our own little stories and our own justifications. And there's that thing in chefing culture where you work hard and then you drink loads, and that becomes your sort of cycle, and that becomes your sort of life. But it's not true. It's just me trying to justify my own bullshit. Most mornings I'd peel myself out of bed. I'd feel like crap, work as hard as I could in that current state, which was maybe 60% of my actual full capacity. And then just try and get to the end of the day so I could have a beer, feel normal, rinse and repeat that cycle. Escape temporarily to get away from everything, but it just doesn't work. I think in those weird little escapism bits, maybe I felt like a proper man or something like that, but it was just fake, temporary delusion. Which leads me to point number 4, people pleasing. I always felt like I had no voice. I always felt like it's really hard for me to sort of just stand up for myself, to say no, to say what I really felt. It was easier for me to sort of bend to other people's wills and just to keep the peace and not to cause any fuss. I never put myself first in any of these instances, which sort of led me to this delusional thinking that, maybe watching too many films, that if I drank the perfect amount on any night, just hit that magic number of beers, that I'd turn myself into a suave, sophisticated James Bond sort of character who would win the girl, look mega cool, and be like a proper man. Like that perfect potion of drinking that would just solve all of my problems and make me assertive. And I don't know, it's just weird thinking. Instead of actually looking cool like James Bond with a bit of whiskey and dressing up all nice, I'd just end up a dribbly mess that could barely string a sentence together and just somehow manage to get home without dying. What I needed to really do was fix the inner issues. Why do I people please? Why do I feel like I need to avoid confrontation? Why can't I just say no? I thought drinking would give me those superpowers. And very, very occasionally, sometimes it would work. Sometimes I would hit the magic level of drunkenness where I'd maybe chat up someone and it'd actually work. But this might be 1 out of 200. But I'd cling on to that one successful social interaction and use that to justify the rest of my drunken attempts and antics, and it just didn't work. It becomes a vicious cycle of treading water and believing some sort of made up sob story and some kind of weird narrative. But with everything said, it's not all doom and gloom. I look back at my 20s and there are some fond memories, some good bits mixed in with the bad. I did a lot of traveling and I had some great experiences, and I did achieve my goal of actually being head chef by the time I was 28. But I do look back and I wonder, what could I have actually done if I'd applied the mindset I've got now? What could I have really done with my life? The tragedy of life is that it gives us wisdom only when it has stolen youth. I had runs of sobriety in my 20s, and during those windows, I'd drop the weight, I'd become super productive, and I had like a glimmer of what it feels like just to be a decent human, getting stuff done and being accountable, and just, I don't know, feeling like I was becoming the man. But for some reason, I'd always stumble back. I'd always go back to having a beer, and then I maybe get a bit too drunk after 4 or 5, feel really good, but then feel really crap the next day, and immediately hop back onto that bandwagon of just consistent drinking. But something in my 30s changed. I can't quite pinpoint what it was exactly. Maybe it was like a mini quarter life crisis or something like that. But something just clicked. I just woke up one day, super hungover, and I was just fucking sick of it. I was sick of all of it, sick of the way I looked, sick of the way I felt. I was massively overweight. I just couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I was so puffy. I just looked and felt horrendous. I felt like I was wasting my potential. And my partner, she was getting sick of it, threatening to leave me. It was just a combination of all of it. I think the perfect storm just to be at that real rock bottom. Like my anxiety was so bad, I couldn't really go and drive anywhere. I just felt trapped in the confines of my own mind. I can't explain it unless you've been in it. Simple things like getting on a dual carriageway just filled me with panic. I just felt tethered. It was just, yeah. I was done. I was sick of it. I had to change. I had to change. It was now or never for me. Something just clicked this time. Like I said, I just didn't want to be in the same situation next week, next month, next year. I knew I wanted to get to my deathbed and actually be proud of myself. I knew I wanted to see what I could actually fucking do with my life, actually fulfill some kind of potential. I knew if I stayed on this trajectory, I could be a head chef, I could maintain it, but I wouldn't get any of the things done that I wanted. I wouldn't achieve financial freedom. I wouldn't run marathons. I wouldn't do strongman competitions. I wouldn't be a present partner. I just wouldn't do the things that are fulfilling and make life worthwhile. I decided it was actually time to put it to the test. So I started day one and I've never looked back. Since then, I'm now over 4 years sober. I'm the fittest I've ever been, the strongest I've ever been. I actually feel present and I just feel like I'm making progress. Like I look forward to each day now. I look forward to each 24 hours to actually try and get the most out of it, to actually try and improve myself by 1% every single day. And it just feels good. Like I have got no interest in drinking anymore because it is just a dead weight holding me down. I know it's going to stop me from progressing. So I don't even think about it. Now I can't lie, it is hard work. It does take time. It does take a mindset shift. But what I felt like is it had to be day one or one day. A lot of us, I think we always say to ourselves, oh, I'll start tomorrow, I'll start next week. But really with anything like this, you just need to start now. You just start immediately and just start getting it done. And if this video sort of resonates with you, as I mentioned, I do offer a 60-day mentorship. So if that's something you're interested, click the link in the description and I'll see you in the next video. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel. See you later.